Hey everybody, today I've got a fun video for you, part of the Nook's Design Sweet Treat blog hop. Head over to the blog to get all the details. The design team are creating fun little Valentine treats, perfect to give out for kids, co-workers, or you could change up the patterns and make them perfect for any season. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So pattern paper, we all have got it, we all hoard it. So I have a tendency to do this as well. So this is a great project, perfect to use up some of that pattern paper. So you're just going to start with a piece of 6x6, and I'm just going to measure my little conversation heart box here, and all I'm doing is covering the box to make my treat. Just going to measure out how long it is, and then I'm going to make a little pencil tick mark. And then I'm going to go ahead and use my paper trimmer to cut that off on the long side. And this is a great way to use up all your pattern paper or scraps. This is another project good for scraps, like to make the tags and stuff with as well. So I'm going to go ahead and add some adhesive to both ends on the inside or the non-pattern part of the paper. And then you could actually measure the box and use a scoring tool to get real crisp lines, but I'm just basically folding it around the box, and this leaves the top and the bottom open so the person can open up the box and get the candy out of the box without having to rip anything open. So you're just going to fold it around, and then as you fold it, you can crease it with your fingers. You don't really have to use, you could even use a bone folder too if you wanted. Nothing specific. This is a quick project to make. You can just crank a bunch of these out really fast. So you just roll the box around and then adhere the other side of the paper to it as well. If you have any overhang or anything, you could just trim that up with your scissors. And then I'm going to go ahead and pull out the Love Bites stamp set. This is a new release from Newton's Nook, as well as the Stitch Heart die and the Tags ×2 die. I'm using the rectangle one, and then I'm going to make a tag out of that stitched heart. So I'm going to go ahead and figure out where I want my layout to be by using my stamps. This is a great way to practice what's going to fit within your dies when you're designing your card. So I'm going to lay my tag dies down, and then I'm just going to kind of put my stamps around where I think they're going to be. Kind of measure the sentiment and get a feel for how much room I need for each item. Then I'm going to go ahead and run the dies through my Big Shot on a piece of 110-pound white cardstock. And then I'm going to also go ahead and add some pattern to the background with the Tumbling Heart stencil. This is also a new item. And I'm going to use some Worn Lipstick Distress Oxide ink and a little finger blending tool. This is a little dauber you put on your finger. I like to use that with the Distress Oxide inks because you can pounce, or you can rub and keep it lighter than you can with the mini ink blending tools. Just gives you a little bit more control over your ink. This cardstock is from Paper Trade ink, and it's kind of textured, so it's really good to use with the Distress Oxide inks, and it's very heavy. So it's a pretty good ink, or not ink, but paper to use for multimedia. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick the part of the stencil I want to use, and I did adhere the stencil, not the stencil, but the tag down to my mat so that it wouldn't slide around as I was moving. And I'm going to go ahead and add some larger hearts to the heart-shaped stencil, and then on the smaller rectangular tag, I'm going to go ahead and use some of the smaller hearts that are in the stencil. And I'm just adding some of the ink to that little blending tool thing there, and then I'm just pouncing it on, and then I'm going over it lightly to give various shades of gradient to the hearts. And then once I've got those all done, I'm going to go ahead and set those aside, and I'm going to use the Flags and Banners die set here, and I'm going to use that one fishtail banner, and I'm going to cut that from some black cardstock, and I'm only cutting part of the banner because my sentiments are so small that you don't really need to cut the full banner, or you could cut the full banner and cut it in half. I'm going to go ahead and use some Versamark ink and stamp my sentiment, and then I'm going to go ahead and heat emboss that in some Altenew white embossing powder. And then I'm going to go ahead and stamp my images. I'm using the Mini Misty on some Copic Express It blending cardstock, and then Lawn Fawn Jet Black ink. This is a Copic friendly ink. And I'm just going to go ahead and stamp those images onto that paper. And like I said, this is a great project to use up your scraps. This paper's been laying around on my desk for many projects. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp those out, and then I'm going to start coloring them in with my Copics. Now I did speed this up because this really isn't a Copic coloring video. It's more just how I assembled these little treat boxes. So I will put the number or the name of the Copics I used in the information box below, so you have those in case you're wondering which colors I used. once my images are all colored, I'm going to go ahead and use the coordinating Love Bites dies to die cut those images out. And then I'm going to go ahead and start assembling my tag here. So I've got my little tag and my little sentiment banner that I created, and I'm just going to add some adhesive to the back of that. And then I'm going to add some Scotch 3M foam mounting tape to the back of my images to pop them up. And I like the idea of laying them against the that flat edge of the banner because it kind of hides that and disguises it a little bit. I did that with each of my little characters on each tag. And then I'm going to go ahead and add some Spectrum Noir clear sparkle pen to the images as well, just to give them a little sparkle because after all it is Valentine's Day. And then I'm going to go ahead and use one of the tag toppers from the Fancy Edges tag die set. I'm just going to run that through my Big Shot and die cut that out. And then I'm going to fold that around on the rectangular tag, and I'm also going to use that on the heart to make the heart-shaped tag. I think this is called like a hole reinforcer or something, that little part that has the circular on it. There's several different ones in this die set. So I'm going to go ahead and add some Ranger Multimedia Matte to that, and I'm going to attach that down, and I'm going to bust out my Crocodile. If any of you may have forgotten about this tool, but it's perfect to punch that little hole in the heart-shaped tag there. Then I'm going to go ahead and use some Baker's Twine. This is another thing I tend to hoard a lot of. So, like I said, this is a great project to bust out all that stuff we keep hoarding in our stash we don't really want to use. So I'm going to use some Baker's Twine and just tie a little knot on the edge of each tag. You could also use the twine to wrap it around the box and hang the tag from it as well. But I decided just to use some foam tape on the back of the tag and then just adhere it directly. So I hope you enjoyed this project, and I will see you soon. Thanks for stopping by.